Hey, what's up? It's Comic95 the Savior, and for this video, I want to quickly give you some advice for how to handle things if you do choose to quit your job. So someone actually left a comment on my YouTube channel, which gave me the idea to remake this video, but I've actually done a video, I believe, where I talked about this topic, which is how do you go about things if you quit your job? What happens to your work visa? So the first thing that you need to understand is that your work visa is not tied to your employer. It's a really complicated thing to explain, and there's no real example I can really give you, so just hear me out and try to follow along. Okay, let me clarify. I'm gonna give you guys a really crappy analogy in just a moment, but I fix it at the end of it. What I'm trying to say to you is basically, once they've given you the visa, they can't take it back. There is no taking it back. The only way that they can take it back is before you have your new visa, aka your residence card, in your hands. Once it's been issued to you by immigration, even if you quit your job the day of, it doesn't matter. After they hand you that card, they can't do anything about it. Excuse my oven. Sorry about that. But anyway, yeah, once you have it, it's yours. However, if it's processing, then they can cancel it. What you really just want to keep in mind, to make this super long story really short, you really just want to keep in mind that if you do quit your job too soon, this will make it hard to find another employer if these new employers are smart. They will figure out, as I say earlier, that, the math just ain't math. Why do you need a job so fast after you just got here? So please don't take my advice the wrong way. I'm not saying as soon as you get off the plane, quit your job. I'm saying don't stay there for a ridiculously long period of time. That's what I'm saying inside this video. Do not let the idea that your employer can cancel your visa, even if they lied to you and threatened that, scare you, because that's not true. It is a huge lie. If employers could do that, there would be a lot more, black companies and a lot more abuse going on towards employees. Because like most people here, we all put up with crap that we wouldn't normally do for the simple fact that we want to maintain our visa, such as holding on to a job to begin with. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The video explains everything else. All I want to say to you is, do not feel like you have to stay with your company in order to stay in Japan. They cannot cancel your visa as long as you have it in your hands. But for your own benefit and help, do stay with the same employer for at least, I would recommend, a few months, if possible, or at the very least 1 month or a few weeks. If you quit your job too soon, you might have to explain to your new employer why you chose to quit or what's going on, because it's not, the math ain't finna be math. It's not going to make sense to them why you need a new job so fast. But keep in mind that getting a new job doesn't mean you need a new visa sponsor. And also keep in mind, you might be thinking, well, if I have to go through all of that, I might as well, honor my contract, right? Wrong. Your visa, 9 times out of 10, is only going to be good for the duration of your contract. Which means that if you honor that contract, your visa is going to be expiring, or already expired, by the time your contract ends. It's set up to be that way. It's not going to overlap. So you need to quit your job before it expires. In fact, I would recommend doing it at the 6-month mark, because if you're anything like me, I tend to get very unlucky when I've tried to change jobs within that 3-month range. Most employers want somebody that has more like a year or longer on their visa. So just wanted to throw that in here. If you have any more questions about this, leave it down below. Otherwise, continue watching the video. Your employer acts as your co-signer, but see it as like this. Imagine that you're a child and you're in elementary school and you need your parents to sign the permission slip in order to go on the field trip. But imagine that after you already get on, you're on the bus, you're at the venue, you've already gone inside, your mom says, hey, like, I want my kid to come out, like, come here, whatever, tries to like pull you out. Your mom cannot go inside unless she buys a ticket herself, basically, if you get what I mean. This is a really bad analogy, but what I'm trying to get at is, basically, your mom cannot pull you out of there. You have to willingly leave the zoo, the aquarium, wherever you are, yourself. No matter what your mom tries to do, at best, if you're a minor in the situation, yes, police and whatnot can get involved, and that's another story. But look at it this way. Let's change it. You're on your senior trip, okay? You're a high school senior. You are 18 years old on this trip. Your mother, no matter how angry she is, she cannot make you leave wherever you are on this field trip, whether it's an aquarium, the zoo, which is a pretty sucky senior trip. But you get what I'm saying? She can't do anything about it. You're already there. If you want to leave, then sure, you can leave, which will make your mom happy. You're listening to her. Well, this is how this works with your visa. Your visa sponsor, aka your employer, they can only control things while you are currently working for them before you've gotten your visa. So for example, if your visa is in the process of being renewed and you don't have it in your hands yet and you quit your job, which I've done this before stupidly, your employer can contact immigration, let them know, and they can cancel your visa, which will stop you from getting your visa, which will really cause a lot of problems for you. I've been through this situation twice. You don't want to do that. But if you are smart and you time it the right way, you quit your job much earlier than when your visa expires. It gives you time to look for another job. But don't be afraid. Obviously, I'm still here in Japan. If you do quit your job and your visa is expired and you need a sponsor, you're good. You have an extra extension that you can do twice back to back. They call it a designated activities visa. And the way that this visa works, it permits you to do part-time work. But it's only good for about, I think, 90 days, 6 months, whatever the case is. I think it's 6 months. Generally speaking, 6 months. You get 6 months on that visa. You can renew it twice, so it basically gives you an entire year. Normally, students switch this visa upon graduating from university, and they use this to find a job, a new visa sponsor. So, the way that you're supposed to do things is when you quit your job, you're supposed to notify immigration within 14 days that you've left your employer. Your employer is also probably going to do the same thing anyway, so really they already know. This really helps you more so for legal purposes if you ever plan to get permanent residency here. It makes the process smoother because you've shown that you're a good citizen and you're reporting things like that. But truth be told, most foreigners here do not do that, myself included. I'm not going to go to immigration every other day and say, hey, I quit my job, I'm looking for another job. It's time consuming, waste of money, waste of time, don't nobody give a crap. So for that reason, I don't bother with that. Do not take my advice, I'm not a lawyer, I'm just telling you what I honestly do. So what you're supposed to do is let them know within 14 days. And during that time, your work visa is completely valid. You can literally just find another job in the same field. Voila, new potential visa sponsor for if and when it does expire in the future. But for example, let's say that you quit your job right now. It is, as of the making of this video, is December of 2021. Your visa expires a year from now in December of 2022. Let's say that you just got a visa right now, you start working a job in January, and you decide to quit your job in May. You can keep the same visa, get a brand new job, and you don't need to tell immigration and get a new visa sponsor. You keep the exact same visa until the expiration date. The only reason why you would change your visa sponsor or visa status during that time that your visa should have been valid is if you are changing the field of work. For example, people don't talk about this enough, but if you are an ALT or if you're working at an Eikaiwa, you have what they call an instructor visa. If you're working at an international school, you have a specialist in humanities visa. You cannot do you can't work at an Eikaiwa with a specialist in humanities visa. Legally, you're not supposed to. You also cannot legally be an ALT with that visa. You're supposed to get an instructor visa. So this does require you to go to immigration and change your resident status. FYI, humanities visa is much better than instructor visa. I'm not going to go into that right now, but that's another story. So, that's pretty much it. Your employer cannot cancel your visa. They cannot revoke it. They cannot take it away from you. Once you have it in your hands, it's yours. So you have the ability to scam, to do whatever you want to do. I'm not encouraging you to do that. I'm just saying that the ball is in your court. So I don't recommend quitting your job as soon as you come here, though. I recommend you give it some time. And the reason being is when you look for a new employer, they're going to ask, didn't you just come to Japan? What happened to your visa sponsor? What happened to your first employer? That's not going to look too good. So for that reason, also to gain some work experience, because let's face it, most of you are not going to come here with a background in education, meaning that you have no idea how to be a teacher. You should definitely try to stay with your job for at least a few months, if not longer, but I would definitely not pass that 6-month mark. So this way you give yourself ample time to find another job without having to switch to designated activities visa, because you do have to pay money and spend time to go to immigration each time that you do this. It's not free. So basically, if you do quit your job, do it ahead of time, ahead of when your visa is going to expire. But also keep in mind that if it is about to expire, if it has expired, you can get a designated activities visa. Do also keep in mind that you need to be doing the same line of work in order to avoid having to get a brand new sponsor. For example, you cannot go from working at an Eikaiwa to being an international school teacher while keeping the same visa status. You're going to have to change your status. Some employers don't care, but I'm just keeping it, real with you. It looks a lot better if you can at least say you stayed at the same job for a few months to half a year, whatever. A lot of employers don't even bother asking this type of stuff, but if anybody does choose to be nosy and is trying to, narrow it down between you and another applicant, they're going to be like, didn't you just come into the country in December of 2021? How are you looking for a job? And it's January. Who sponsored your first work visa? What's going on? the math ain't finna be mathing for them. So I'm just trying to give you some advice and telling you why I wouldn't do it in that circumstance. But as I said in my video, keeping it real with you, you're more than likely not gonna like your first job. Most people here do not like their 10th job here because working as a teacher sucks in Japan. The pay is low, the hours are long, you don't get a lot of thanks, and there's not a lot of training done, not a lot of professional development, unless you're working at an international school, and even then it depends on the school. Every school is totally different. So I've worked at several different international schools, and I can honestly say that I've never worked at any two schools that were alike. There have been similarities, but they've always been completely different. The same thing goes for being like an ALT or working in Eikaiwa, etc. So the reality is most foreigners here are working as instructors at a language school, or they're ALTs. Those are the two suckiest jobs here. Some people love them. I don't need you smart asses. I know people in the JET program love telling me, I'm a JET, I love my job. That's sweet. That's nice for you, sweetheart. Okay, nobody gives a crap. I'm talking about what most people do not like. Most people that are in these programs or whatever, they're the ones who quit and leave Japan and tell you about how horrible it was being a teacher here. Just keeping it real. Are all international schools great? No, they most certainly are. I talked about my bad experiences with them too. But I am saying, being honest, not, trying to talk about my own opinion. These are the jobs that are harder to get. International schools are significantly more competitive in comparison to Eikaiwas and being ALTs. So those positions are much easier where anybody can work them. International schools do not normally hire inexperienced teachers. They normally don't hire people that don't have relevant degrees. It is a lot more competitive to get these jobs, and the salary is generally a lot more too. It totally depends on the school, totally depends on the city that you are living in. But yeah, long story short, all I want to say is they cannot cancel your visa. The only person that can cancel your visa is immigration. And immigration is only going to cancel your visa if your employer contacts them before you have your visa in your hand. So for example, let's say your visa sponsor, they sponsor your visa, you go to immigration, and you're waiting for it to process. And before you get your visa in your hand, before you pick it up, you decide to quit your job, your employer finds out, and then they contact immigration. That happened to me. Yeah. You're not going to have your visa. It's going to be canceled, and you're going to have to switch to designated activities visa and go to the consultation counter. Really embarrassing, really long, annoying process. Do not do that. I've done it twice. But otherwise, no, you can immediately go from working one job to another one a week later, a day later, whatever. There is no penalty for that. It is not going to hurt you. It's not going to, look bad or anything like that. I will be honest with you, of course, being able to stay with the same job does look good for doing things like PR, etc. But you have years to make it a solid year of working for the same employer. And like I said, it doesn't do any good to stay with the same company if you're going to be miserable, getting a low salary, etc. Because sorry, while Japan may look down on you for quitting jobs, they know that foreigners don't keep the same job. But they are not going to pay you for being, a dedicated, good employee and staying with the same company. There is no bonus for you. All you're going to get is maybe a $10, $50 raise, if even that, for a year. That's it. That is not worth staying at the same company for 3, 4, 5 years, or even 1 year, in my opinion. There's not really any room to advance if you're working at, how can I say it? If you're working as an assistant language teacher, aka ALT, or if you're working as an English instructor, aka, being a, language teacher, at a Eikaiwa, which means language school, you're not going to get much more money than whatever you're starting off as. It's very unlikely that you're going to be able to move up to being a manager. And even then, their management salaries are going to be on par with international school teachers, where your pay here is going to be like the 4,500 to 6,000 USD range if you're in Tokyo. If you are not inside of Tokyo, you're still going to be looking at a higher salary than other teachers. The starting salary will be about 2,700, and it can go up to 3,500 in the Kansai area. So it totally depends on where you're working, totally depends on your experience, the relevance of your degree, your age, your nationality. All of those things matter. Your physical appearance, you can negotiate these things, but again, it depends on where you're from. If you're not a native English speaker, you're not young, you're going to have more difficulty doing these things. I'm just speaking in general, giving general advice, but long story short, they cannot cancel your visa. They don't have the ability to do that. Do not believe them. They might lie to you and say, oh, well, when do you plan to leave Japan then if you're not going to work for us, or we're going to let immigration, or we're going to do whatever. It doesn't matter. Immigration doesn't give a crap. Nothing's going to happen to you. I know from personal experience, so again, do things the right way. You are supposed to let them know within 14 days when you do leave your job, but you don't have to, and you don't need to change visa sponsors unless you change the line of work. If you're going to go from one international school to another, from one ALT company to another, it doesn't make a difference. You can do the same, use the same visa, it's fine. But again, if you do plan to quit, You need to make sure there is enough time on your current visa. Most employers won't even hire somebody that doesn't have at least 3 months left on their visa. And be very careful. If you have any like mixed feelings about, are they really going to sponsor me? Or does the manager seem not like me? Are they trying to get rid of me? Because employers will be bogus. I've had companies do this to me before too. They'll let you work for them until they can find a teacher to take your place, and then they'll fire you, hire another teacher, and leave you high and dry and not sponsor your new visa. So make sure that if and when you do find a new company, that they really want you as their employee and they're not playing you. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you have any more questions, anything else you'd like me to clarify, please leave a comment down below. But yeah, don't be afraid to quit your job for that reason. If you're like, oh, like what about my visa? Your visa sponsor, it's not like that. You not only have the permission, you are inside of the zoo. You're 18 years old. Your mama cannot make you leave. She can get mad at you for not leaving, but she can't do nothing. You're grown. She already signed the permission slip. She gave you the money for the ticket, is what I should say, because you're 18 years old. You don't need her permission. She gave you the money. You're already inside. She can't do nothing about it. Either she can buy a ticket herself and waste her time going off on you, but even then, she can't pull you out. Your employer cannot kick you out of Japan because you stopped working for them. Trust me, they love to do it, but they can't. And the reason why they cannot is because Japan, like most first world countries know, people would abuse this. Your employer would make you a slave. They'd be like, well, if you leave, we're not going to sponsor this. We're not going to do whatever. And people here that are working, and I say this, people that are from less developed countries working for less money doing slave-like work, they are ones that end up inside of these situations where their employer does have more control over that. But you are not in that situation, especially not if you have a degree. So that's it for this video. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you have any more questions, leave a comment down below. Other than that, I would appreciate it if you would check out another video. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Comic95. You can add me on Snapchat at Comic the Savior, and you can follow me on TikTok at Comic the Savior as well. You can read my blog at Comic95.com, and I hope you'll check out my YouTube channel. I have tons of playlists, tons of videos on every topic that you could think of dealing with Japan, from work to, studying abroad, dating here, etc., housing. Please check out my YouTube channel homepage. Thank you for watching. Bye.